Yeah, if I could do it all again, I'd probably be a 9. It wasn't that controversial. I don't really have a life outside of rugby. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm now just dancing around it. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, well, I'm leaving.
Poppy Leitch, you are on the precipice of your 100th game for this club.
Yeah.
You're going to be the first woman to wear that jersey as a Centurion. But I want to know where it all began. What's the Poppy Leitch story? How did you get into rugby?
I got into rugby just because friends at school played it. Like, no one in my family played. I don't really think it was like spoken about too much, or didn't really watch it growing up. And then at school, like a couple of my friends played it. Actually, Meg Coombs, who works in the shop now, which is funny, actually is the reason I got into rugby, which is a little bit full circle. But yeah, they were just talking about it one day, and I think I got a bit jealous, and then I started playing. So that was it, really.
What school did you go to?
I went to St. Peter's. Okay. They didn't really do it there. Later on, towards the end of being there, that's one of my old PE teachers called Kat or something. I can't remember 100% started it. But she hadn't come from rugby either, I don't think. So I think she just did it because she thought we probably should be. So I didn't really play at school either. I just played for my local club at Exeter Saracens. And that was it, really, yeah.
Who was your first coach? Can you remember?
Oh, yeah, his name was... his daughter was called Emma Wakely. Steve Wakely.
Okay.
Was his name. He was, his daughter played. He coached us. I see him around every now and then still, which is kind of, I'm like, maybe I should leave Exeter because I can still see the people I knew when I was like 10. But I do see him around still. And I still follow his daughter Emma, who was a good friend of mine for a while online and stuff. And she's not playing, but she's doing well. So yeah, small world really.
Did he stick with you all the way through the age groups?
No, we had lots of different coaches. Okay. Yeah. Dave Turner also was a coach for us. He was a fireman and helped us out. He used to coach at the uni as well when I played there. He used to coach our development side. So yeah, lots of different coaches. I wouldn't say like one coach probably stands out from my childhood massively because yeah, I wish I could say I've got this like inspirational story where this one person, you know, was like, you can do it. I don't think that necessarily happened. I think I just thought I like it. So I carried on. I had good friends and, you know, still have lots of good friends now from it.
So you were at Exeter Saracens, you were at school. Did you go to Exeter College or did you go to the university? How did that transition go? So
I started at the college, Exeter College, and then I was sold the dream by Bicton at the end of my first year. They kind of like, yeah, we've got like 30 rugby girls, you should join Bicton, leave Exeter College. And I did, and there was 3 of us at Bicton, so I obviously that really did shift things. And then I picked up a pretty nasty injury to my arm and was out for the majority of my year at Bicton. And then I just went to Exeter University because it was a good programme, rugby-wise. They did sports science, which is what I was interested in at the time. And yeah, so not like the most inspirational journey, I would say, to it, which is fine. It doesn't need to. Sometimes, you know, stories are just pretty plain and simple. But I do think going to Bicton, as much as it wasn't maybe like the best for me academically, because they were very much sport and kind of agricultural based, it kind of gave me a year to like really think, actually, maybe I do want to give rugby like my kind of whole heart. And I did that. So yeah, I'm still thankful for both Exeter College and Bicton for what they offered me in some capacity.
Always been a forward?
Yeah, I've always been a forward. I was a hooker and I wasn't very good. And I was a 7 and I wasn't very good. And then now I'm in a second row and I'm probably also not very good at that. But yeah, if I could do it all again, I'd probably be a 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably more fun.
Yeah, a bit
but whenever Flo or anyone is stuck at the bottom of a ruck, I'm like, yeah, I'll go play 9. That's better than pushing in the scrum. But yeah, no, not many positions.
So how did it develop from you being at university, in the university, I assume the Bucks team or whatever the equivalent was back then, to then getting on at Bristol? So
Bristol was our local Prem club at the time. I don't think people probably realise what the Prem was like when I first started. It was the first year we didn't really have any association to any kind of business or name. We were just kind of called Women's Prem. And then Tyrrell's actually took it over first, and then obviously it became Allianz, then it became...
PWR.
Was it? Yeah, PWR next? PWR. Yeah. So it's obviously had a couple of names. When I joined at Bristol, it was the most local club to Exeter Uni, and loads of us travelled, like 15 of us used to go up.
Wow.
On a Thursday, so I'd train on a Monday with uni, train on a Tuesday, play on a Wednesday, train on Thursday with Bristol, train on a Friday with uni, and then play on Saturday. It was ridiculous. Back then, you could probably get away with it because I suppose like the speed and the physicality of the game was probably much less, really. And my first year at Bristol, like I didn't really play a huge amount. Like we had the likes of like Claire Malloy, Sarah Hunter, Izzy Knowles-Smith, loads of like really big names back then playing. So I just kind of found myself there. And then kind of after a couple of years, I was playing quite a bit, which was good. But doing uni and doing Bristol, I would definitely not, I wouldn't recommend it. Having a local PWR club now is definitely much easier. But there was a good cohort of us going up, even people now that still play, like Langy, who's at Quinn, she plays, Clara, who's at Chiefs. I mean, Ebbs, she did it as well. There's quite a lot of people.
Merrin.
Yeah, Merrin. So even Bryony Khalil at one point was doing it. She was playing centre for Bristol. Don't even get me started on how much times have changed now. Like it is really unrecognisable. Like, you know, you paid to play. You know, you had no floodlights. You trained in the dark. You didn't get paid any money. You just kind of did it for a hobby. So the Prem is very different now, which I kind of glad I've experienced. I think it makes me realise that we are moving in the right direction. And people that come in now maybe don't realise how far it's gone in such a short period of time. So yeah, fortunate for that part.
So when you heard Exeter Chiefs were setting up a women's team, did Susie email you? Did you call the club? How did this come about?
Well, it was actually really controversial. It wasn't that controversial. Nothing really is that controversial. But I suppose my time at Bristol definitely came to an end, probably an abrupt end. COVID hit, which meant that the league stopped anyway. And I think I probably didn't see eye to eye with the Bristol coach that was around back then, which is kind of part and parcel of sport. So I decided to stop playing completely. I really didn't enjoy it. I was in quite a dark space in life and decided I just didn't want to play. Susie reached out and I kind of said, like, I don't want to do it. I remember this one conversation, because I was working at the uni at the time. She came into my office at the uni and was like, I will tell you everybody I've signed. And I was like, okay. And she was like, Kate Zachary has signed. And I obviously know who Kate is now. And this is no, obviously, offence to Kate, because she's an absolute role model for everybody, myself and everyone that has ever been part of Chiefs. But like, I was like, I actually don't know who half these people are.
Oh my goodness.
Because it just, like, no internationals played in the Prem, in Allianz back then. Like, there was no USA players or Canadian players. That just wasn't a thing. Like, Linda was probably the first overseas player that, like, kind of hit the town as such. So she was listing all these people, Linda being one of them, and at the time I remember just kind of being like, I don't know what you're talking about, who you're talking about, and I'm really not interested. I think I was probably a bit rude and was like, get out of my office, I don't want to do it. And I'd also, the last time I'd spoken with Susie, we beat Hartbury Uni in a Bucks final. Right. She was called Susie Lucy from that point onwards, because when we lost, when they lost, we won. She threw her clipboard on the floor and was screaming at the Bucks players. She's obviously not like that now, and sometimes.
Obviously not.
But I remember being like, Susie, Lucy, she can't cope losing to Exeter Uni. And obviously Hartbury were like long-standing rivals at the time. So I suppose there was also a bit of me that was like, I have to stay true to my morals. I can't play for Susie Lucy. And then I watched their first game. Ebbs was playing, and I was with Ebbs then as well. And I think I realised that, like, I was being an idiot, and actually, like, I shouldn't let the way that things ended at Bristol, which was not anyone's fault, I just think it was the way that kind of ended up coming to a close, dictate then what I did next. So I then begged, basically, Susie to play me. And then, funnily enough, our first game that I was involved in was against Bristol.
Yes.
The Bristol players, I don't think were best pleased that I was then playing there. I think after I'd said, I'm not going to play anymore. And I was at Bristol for 5 years, and I did on the whole have like a really good time there, and I learned a lot about how to play rugby and how the game works, and I obviously got capped whilst I was there as well, which was also kind of like a mixed experience, so I had a lot of people there to support me. But I think it probably all did happen at the right time, and I think, you know, I don't look back on it with any malice. I just think, you know, you kind of run your end at a club, and I was just fortunate enough that Chiefs started, and Susie was all right with me begging her to come back. So
I bet she was.
Yeah.
Did you get to 100 at Bristol?
Gosh, I don't know. They wouldn't have even been able to track. I looked back on the Oval stats the other day, and I think it is like over 50.
Okay.
It would definitely be over 50, but I'm not sure 100% what number. That wasn't even a thing then, you know. Management was not a thing then. It was 160 minutes, or, you know, every single week. That's just what it was. Clara definitely hit over 100, which is really cool for her. But yeah, I don't reckon I got to 100 there.
So we're about to play our 100th game.
100th game, yeah.
As Exeter Chiefs women.
Yep.
Which means you only missed that one game where you're on the sidelines going,
yeah, it was against Gloucester Hartbury.
Yeah. And now you've played every single game since then, including the friendlies.
Touch wood.
Actually. Touch with the wood, yeah. Please
touch wood this one, I get dropped next week.
So what are your favourite moments? It's really hard. What stands out as a favourite game, a favourite night out, a favourite player to play with?
Wow. I think probably the first year when we were in the Undercroft, because it was COVID and we had to like keep ourselves separate just because of contamination and all that rubbish. I think like as a whole, although it was a really challenging year, I think there was an element of, because you had like a random group of players, loads of overseas players that I'd never met before. I think there was an element of kind of like going through that as a group was quite, I suppose, like moving really when you think back about it, because it really was an awful time for people. I remember we had like Christmas dinner segregated in the Undercroft, which is, as anyone doesn't know, the Undercroft, obviously like a really cold, smelly bar, which is probably full of things that shouldn't be in there, from socials, etc., etc. And Emily Totosi and Liv, Liv was another Canadian that we have here. They were supposed to fly to Edinburgh to have their Christmas with some of the Scottish girls, I think, who they knew from being at Loughborough. And their flights got cancelled because of COVID, and then they ended up having Christmas with us. And I suppose like it was an odd year, but I feel very fortunate that in the COVID year, like we actually created some really loving friendships that have remained now. So Emily is still here and is one of the kind of most, is probably one of the most loyal people I've ever met, and as everyone knows, is a big part of the club. So yeah, I think Undercroft times stand out. Beating Bristol in the semi in the first year was a big one. It was like a maul. They were attacking into our half, and I think like every single player from both teams hit them all. And then it went dead and we won. I think that like will always be probably a fond moment. Sarries Prem Cup final, we had like a really, really young squad. Yeah. And I remember it being like a really physical game, and winning that was massive. And obviously we won the Prem Cup 2 years on the bounce. But yeah, there are obviously loads of things. There are loads of things that are amazing. I think for me personally, I quite like the real kind of lows and highs of sport, of rugby, and women's rugby is definitely full of lows and highs, as many rugby athletes will know. So I think I just kind of have got addicted to that feeling. And I don't know if that's always a good thing, but I definitely feel like I can't, even if Chiefs is like really hard on a day, because, whatever reasons it might be, it's freezing cold, or it's a session that you feel apprehensive about, or it's a selection thing, or just, whatever it might be, I'm still just as addicted to that feeling, because I know that even if that's like part of my day, there will also be a part where you're in the food room with people and you almost don't want to leave because you think you're going to miss out on the fun, and you'll be there till like 10:30 p.m, even though I've been at work since 6, and then I'm like, I should go home. But it's so worth staying because I'm so fond of everyone and feel so part of something that it's worth it. So yeah, that was a bit long-winded, sorry.
That's a good long-winded, I like long-winded.
Oh, I don't know about that.
So it's good that you're obsessed and you're addicted to the rugby because you also coach. So how did you end up becoming University of Exeter's coach?
So Joe Yapp, who's now the Wallaroos coach, was our coach whilst I was there. And then I decided to do my PGCE, and kind of towards the end, she was like, we're leaving, I'm leaving, and I think you should go for the job. And I was like, no. And she was like, okay, well, I think you should. And then the deadline passed, and then somehow I managed to get my application in. And to be honest, like, I really didn't know what I was doing. I was like 21 when I got the job. And I think people always assume that like when you run a uni program, you're like just a rugby coach. And it's like, if anything, like the coaching is probably like 10% of what the job actually is, which is probably a bit of a wake up call for me as well over the years. But I was like, I cannot explain how bad it was at my job in my first year. And I still get lots of things wrong now, but like so unbelievably bad. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to coach a line out, a scrum. I didn't know how to run an attacking shape. And I think the biggest thing is I didn't know how to build rapport with people. Okay. And they were my age and they were my friends who I'd played with previously. So that made it quite challenging. We had a really tough year. We got relegated. I felt very like I'd let down the uni and I'd let down the legacy of what I'd always known it to be. And then COVID hit, and that again was another odd year. So I think my time at ex-uni has been, I'm obviously still there, has been a real growth opportunity for me, and I know that I can still be better at what I do. I think if anything, I'm maybe too invested. So every single day, if it's a player getting hurt or it's a player upset or if it's a result, it like cripples me, which is just kind of how it is now. But I feel like I have found another part of myself in doing that job.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably made me, I don't think I'm a great player in any stance, but I think it's made me better at playing in the sense that you understand how to like try and maybe build energy with the group, or you understand how to identify if someone's not themselves and therefore how to support them. Or also just when you coach, you have to see the game differently. You have to kind of try and keep ahead of everybody else. So I think maybe I've been able to implement some of that, maybe, who knows. But yeah, I wouldn't choose to not do my job and just play, because sometimes people are like, why do you do a job and play? I couldn't afford to just be a player, that's for sure. But I do want to do my job and play. I like that. I like it being busy. I like it being full on. And it just kind of feeds into the addiction of highs and lows. Like, I'll literally lose a uni game and feel like I'm like dead in the ground, and then I'll come to Chiefs and be like, I love everyone here. So you kind of, it's part of it. And vice versa. Sometimes I'm like, the uni's great. And then I come here and I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard.
Yeah.
But again, like, I know that it will always flip back and forth. There will always be good times in the week. It just depends where they fall.
You must feel so proud seeing those women who you have coached at university putting on Exeter Chiefs jersey.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I think for me it's more that like, there's a couple of players that I have, some I've coached more, some I haven't coached loads. So like Nancy, I didn't actually coach a lot. She came in and obviously was like good from the beginning, and I think she played like 3 games for the uni. One was like Oxford and we smashed them like 100-0 or something, and it was like, why is Nancy playing in this game? But actually, like, it's not the fact that Nancy pulls on a Chiefs shirt that I think, oh, I contributed to that, because I don't feel like that. It's when I come in and I see her smiling and laughing and enjoying training. Obviously, she's come back from her injury as well. It's like that moment when you kind of think, oh, actually, like, that's the best part of the job. Or like Neve, I think is like such a good person. I like couldn't ever say a bad word about her. And yeah, I did coach Neve a lot more, and she joined as a centre, and I was like, you're not a centre, you're definitely a second row. And she was so angry at me at the time. So like maybe the positional change was because of me, but like now, like Neve is like a dear friend to me, and now she's not at the uni. And I think that actually is what is more, I don't know, warms you more. Not really, like the playing bit's great, of course it is, and like they get to run out of Sandy Park, and that's something that like they get to hold on to. But like, as long as they're happy and they're looked after and they're cared about, like that's the bit. And there's still loads of them. Like the uni, there's 120 of them that I have to look after, and there are ones that like I still feel like I could do more for, and there are ones that probably suck the life out of me. But I feel like it's not, oh, if they get to play for Chiefs, it's not that. It's not why I do it. It's because I want them to play after uni, wherever that be, and in 10 years' time be able to go, oh, hey, you're still playing. And then even if they're playing Nat 3 or Inner Warrior or Champ or in the PWR, be like, that's kind of the win. So there is a lot of players that I adore that a lot of people at Chiefs won't know, because they're probably never going to play for Chiefs, but they're really good people. But definitely people like Neve, people like Nancy, people like Flo. I think she's again like someone that like has been an absolute joy to like not even coach again, but have as in the uni in some capacity. And then you've got the babies like Hannah Sams, who is not the size of a baby. She's a fully fledged woman, smashing things up. But again, I haven't coached her yet because she's been here, but I'm looking forward to trying to maybe like show her that coaching can be done in a different way too at the uni, because it is a different environment. So yeah, there's lots of things that I've, that I look forward to also watching and grow as well.
How does it work? You've got 3 teams at the university for the women, and then you've got extra athletic as well. No,
so three with extra athletic. Yeah, 3 with extra athletic. So we play in BSR for the first team, extra athletic are in Champ 2, and my Bucks second team are in like Western Tier 1A. Not that anyone will know what that means, but it's just a bit lower down.
And you look after all those teams, and then come here and do some captaincy and play a bit. Yeah,
so like between the first game of the season and Christmas, I would have had 39 games.
That's good. You're addicted to the sport then, I reckon.
Still I've something got like 6 to go or something still. I'm like, what the hell? When are they going to end? And I don't want them to end, but I am like, when are they going to end? Seriously, I need them to stop.
Yeah. So talking of addiction to the sport, Susie Appleby, I reckon, Susie Lucy.
Susie Lucy. Susie Winsey now.
Yeah, Susie Winsey.
Not got the same ring.
How'd you get on with Susie?
Yeah, like obviously really well. I feel like I think the reason that I get on so well with Susie is because it's really, really hard running a program, let alone running a women's program. I don't think anybody's like delusioned to the fact that like you have to maybe go over some hurdles that maybe other people wouldn't. And I think that's kind of partly why certain people stick in the job and certain people don't. When you decide to be part of women's rugby, whether you're a coach or a player, you take the responsibility to sell the game. Lona Ma, I know we were talking about it a minute ago, that's kind of become her brand. And if we didn't have players like that, the game wouldn't accelerate. And we've got plenty here that are exactly the same. You know, Claude is a massive role model for so many of the kids that come to Super Saturday. And, you know, she has a responsibility to sell women's rugby, even though she's already giving so much of herself to it. So I think that's why me and Susie get on well, is because speaking frank, I'll at the end of the day be like, I don't know if I can do another day where I have to ask for things that I don't feel I should have to ask for. And again, like, I love my job. That's not me saying I don't love my job, but Susie will also say to me, I feel the same. Yeah. And I think there's maybe a feeling of kind of shared experience. Yeah. And I think she maybe feels like I'm one of the only people in a close circle in Exeter that maybe, even if it's 10%, get what sometimes she's feeling, gets it. And, you know, me and Susie have also like had our challenging times as well. I think everybody will have had that with their coach. But I suppose what I feel like I still hold on to is that I'm like, I get that it's really hard for her. And when we have to have challenging conversations, I think hopefully she knows that I'm having them because I'm saying, I want to help make it better, or I want to help go in a different direction. And what do you need from me? She's built the club from nothing. So regardless of what anyone thinks, that's huge amounts of effort that people don't always identify or maybe necessarily acknowledge. So yeah, I have a huge amount of respect for her, even though some days we probably get on like a house on fire and some days we don't. But that's also humans and people under pressure, sadly.
Is she a coaching role model for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, for example, when I first came here, it's going to sound really stupid, I don't think anyone ever talked about short side attack. And I know that might be foreign language to you as well right now, but there are parts of the game that she's talked about that I maybe hadn't thought about in as much detail previous to coming here. There are lots of things that she does that I would do, and I think there are ways that she does things that I wouldn't, but that's still a role model in itself. So yeah, definitely, like, Steve's taught me a huge amount about defence and set piece principles. Again, there are some things that I probably coach differently, but I only learn how to do that by still learning through them. So yeah, I feel very fortunate to have had people like them in my kind of coaching experience. So yeah.
How do you think it's changed from when you first arrived at Exeter Chiefs, having been watching Ebony and now playing? The expectation on what's on us as a club. You know, Tony Rowe wanted us to be competitive, and right now we're at the top of the league. Yeah. Do you think it's changed in this last 4.5 years of what's expected of Exeter Chiefs women?
I think that what's expected of female rugby athletes has changed. And I suppose, like, maybe I go too deep on it. I think maybe it's because I just think too much about women's rugby, especially if it's your life you kind of spend every day. But like, if you think about the growth of the game, no one can question the fact that it's moving at a rate of knots. So, you know, teams like the Red Roses, fully funded for quite a while now. Some of the talent that they've got within that group is you know, best in the world. And there are other international teams that, you know, Canada, I think, are hot on their heels, et cetera, et cetera. USA are moving in the right direction. Ireland had a great WXV. You know, so many of our players are adding value to their international teams, and the women's game is growing. But the women's Prem is not like the men's Prem. You know, we're amateurs trying to be professional in some capacity. Yeah. And I think, personally, we do a really good job because, probably 70% of the squad work. And some of those won't work every single day. You know, we've got our PACX crew who work on Wednesdays and Fridays with Andy at PACX. You know, Maisie, Georgina and Flo. I think, from my understanding, some of them are good at selling things for PACX and some aren't. I won't name who. You know, and those guys, you know, work 2 days a week, and some people work full time, some people work here and there, but we're being asked to be professionals, and we're pretty much still living an amateur life. So it's a difficult one. I think, you know, some team, you know, Red Roses, international rugby is accelerating in some countries, but the PWR, the Prem is different, and we continue to need more investment, really. But the Prem is the best league in the world. Yeah. So even with that, even with the hurdles that we're challenged with, we can still be the best team in the league, well, currently the best team in the league, and hopefully that remains, and the best league in the world. So sometimes I kind of have to remind myself of that, because you do forget it. When you're in it every week, you forget that people want to come over. Lona Mile wanted to come over to play in our league. Like, that's insane. So, yeah, sometimes you kind of have to, like, you know, be a bit grounded and remember that, like, it's easy every day to kind of be like, we need this, but actually, like, we're doing pretty well, and we still don't have a lot. We have a lot more than we used to, I can assure you of that, compared to what it was like in my first year, not at Chiefs, but my first year in the Prem. But, you know, we're moving in the right direction. I just hope that we don't start to see a gap between international and Prem, because the Prem makes internationals better, and we have to move in that direction. So, you know, that's kind of my own opinion. People might disagree with that, but I think in order for the international scene to get better, the Prem needs more investment. And I think, you know, every team would agree that they could do with more. Not being grateful for what we have. We have loads of support, but, you know, we need, like, just like how the men probably need more in some capacity as well, in some areas of their game. You know, it's the
when
same
you're not
for everyone.
obsessing about rugby, which I think you might do quite a lot. What do you do? Where is your life beyond rugby? Anything? I
mean, no, I would say not. I don't really have a life outside of rugby. That is the reality, I think, of where I'm at the moment. Is, you know, I work a lot and I play a lot, which is great, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it, like I said earlier. But, like, I don't have a life outside of what I do, and I'm okay with that for now. And I am actually okay with that. But I think it's, for me, like, I'm making the choice to do both, and it is really hard, and it's probably harder on the people around me who have to listen to me melt down every probably 2 weeks saying I can't do it anymore. But, like, I'm making that choice, and I love it, and I feel very fortunate that, like, Ebbs, obviously my partner, like, pretty much, like, feeds me, lets me sleep, and then, you know, carries on and also works herself. So, you know, I'm very fortunate to have the people around me, but I don't really have a life outside of rugby, no. Like, I would be lying if I said I didn't do anything else. Like, I love my dogs. I have two amazing pointers. We rescued one, got one from a puppy, and, like, I actually long to have them in my life more, but I don't get to spend time with them. So my hobby is being with my dogs and doing normal things. I love charity shops. I'm, like, obsessed with buying secondhand things that I never am going to wear because I'm always in rugby kit. So, but, like, I actually really don't have a life outside of rugby, but I'm making that choice. And, like, I do love it. So, like, that's okay. Good. It's the people around me that allow that to happen, really.
What about the nails? Tell us about the nails.
I do nails. I know some people might think that's weird, but basically, Ebony's mum bought a nail kit, like a proper gel nail kit, and then she suffers with skin cancer, so she was like, I realised I shouldn't do nails. And I was kind of like, okay, I mean, I feel like you'd be fine, but that's fine. We'll take the nail kit. It's free. It was like £100. I was like, definitely going to take that second hand. And Ebony was like, well, why don't you paint my nails? Like, because we don't see each other really ever, like, at all. I haven't seen her yet today. And it's like, I don't know, I don't even know what the time is, 6 p.m. or something. And I painted her nails, and I was like, do you know what? I actually think I'm all right at this. I'm not good at, like, the prep and stuff. I don't want to cut cuticles, like, that's not my life, but I will paint. And then I did art at school, and my dad is a sculptist. My sister is, like, a beautiful artist. My brother writes music. Like, there's definitely creative streaks in my family. I think I was just blessed with, like, the tiniest amount. So I do nails. And there was a period of time when I was doing a lot of people's nails, not to make money, to be clear. I did, like, a £5. Bear in mind, like, a bottle of gel nail polish costs, like, you know, a minimum £10. So I actually didn't charge people for ages because I just wanted to do it for fun. I just love the social. I love the social. I want them to come over. I want to paint their nails, chat. So yeah, I do nails. I call it polished nails, a play on polished and polished because I have Polish heritage. Which is silly but fun. I haven't painted anyone's nails recently. Ebony's livid because I did Tessa's nails, Alex Tessier, who I am so obsessed with. I love Tess. Like, I actually almost fancy her because she's just so lovely. And I'm obviously amazing at rugby. So when she was up for World Player of the Year, I was like, I will do your nails. And she was like, okay, thanks. So I did them, and Ebony came home and was like, as if, like, I've been asking for weeks. She's got, like, really long nails, like, they're freshly prepped, apparently, ready to be painted, and I just did Tessa's. But, like, World Player of the Year, I, like, have to do that. I said if she wins, and obviously she's World Player of the Year in our hearts, but she had to hold the trophy up and, like, show off her nails. Not that they were that good, but I'm a bit rusty. But Taz does nails as well. Taz Bricknell, who's a player with us, who's also an absolute gem of a person. and player, and she does nails. She is better than me, and she actually does it properly. So if anyone needs their nails done, they now need to go to Taz. I don't have time. But yes, I do nails every now and then. I paint my dog's nails, which you probably shouldn't do. No, only like a couple.
Okay.
I don't think they mind it. I probably shouldn't do that. Only like normal nail polish, not gel. I don't put their paws under like a UV lamp. I don't do that.
Oh, this is good to know. Tell me a bit about Ebony. I guess in the women's game, because as far as we know, there aren't gay couples in the men's teams that we know of. Obviously, we have a few couples in our team.
Yeah, we do.
What is it
We
like?
were the OG couple, though, Maya just said.
Yeah,
okay,
of course, OG couple.
Yeah.
What's it like playing with your partner? Or do you not know any different? Like if she went down injured, what would you...
Well, if Ebony went down injured, I would go over to her.
Yes.
I would definitely go over to her. She wouldn't go to me. Because she always says that I don't...
That's why.
Well, yeah, it's because she always says that I wouldn't want her to come over, which I don't think that's true, but like, it's fine. And I don't think Ebony doesn't go down very often. I don't think really I do either, so touch wood, that doesn't change. But yeah, like I love playing with Ebs. Like Ebony is like, I feel like she's my soulmate.
Of course.
I know that sounds a bit soppy, but like, and like, I know we like chalk and cheese, like we are very different people, but like, you know, she's supported me through a lot of stuff that, you know, people don't know about, and likewise, hopefully she feels that I've supported her with some of that stuff. She probably so haven't. I'm never there. But I never really think about it. It just feels normal.
Yeah.
I think it's hard when, you know, like, Ebbs has had really tough selection conversations at times, and like, that's hard as a partner when you're playing and your partner's like maybe not enjoying how they're finding rugby at different times in her career. I think that's hard because, you know, you feel what they feel when they're not enjoying it. But like, I feel like Ebony's always been someone that like is like her feelings and how she's feeling about rugby are like hers and not necessarily mine. So yeah, I love playing with Ebs. Obviously, you know, very lucky to play with lots of people every week. But it's probably the most amount of time I actually get to spend with Ebony in a week. So like that's the best bit. I'm like at scrum, I'm like, it's nice to see you, Ebs. Haven't seen you this week. And yeah, so yeah, she's a good egg. She's a good person.
And she's not far off 100 either.
No, she's not. She's absolutely livid at me that I might get there before her. And to be honest, I actually feel like I won't live it down if I do. Obviously, I want to get to 100. Yeah. Not before her, but I don't, you know, I hope I get there. I think it would be the Ealing game next Ealing game next week. But like, I also think Ebbs is someone who, and obviously I'm going to say this because I'm with her, like, I think she's a really good player. And if the support is right, I think Ebony could be like even better than she is now. There are loads of players that are absolutely world class, and every player would be better if they got more support, obviously. But I do think she's been like a core player to us for a long time. Yeah. She's probably one that goes maybe under the radar a little bit.
I agree. Yeah.
So, you know, I've told her that she like needs to shoot for the stars. You know, like you could play internationally if you really put your mind to it. She has got Irish heritage. I think someone should explore that more. Just going to put that out there. But yeah, no, she, hopefully when she gets to 100, if we are doing it together or we're not doing it together, that we can celebrate it, maybe just an hour together. I try and do nice things and then something comes up all the time, so I have to actually put it in the calendar for once.
What does being that first Centurion mean to you? Or is it just another game? It's hard because...
Oh, that's a hard question. Yeah. I don't want to say it's just another game, because obviously like every game is really important, and I think, you know, you don't actually know when your last game is going to be. That is the reality of the sport that we play. So yeah, like of course it will be amazing, but I suppose I just feel like I don't know. Like I want to do what's right for the club, whatever capacity that is. You know, if people are coming through that are great players and need to play and develop in certain ways, and that means someone else gets played over me, then that's what's right for the club. Mm-hmm. So if I play 10 games or if I play 100 games or more than that, as long as the club is getting what they need and players are getting what they need, then that is what's more fulfilling.
And what's to come next? What's to come after 100? What's your ambitions for the future?
I need to figure my life out. And I know that sounds a bit drastic, but like doing both, and I obviously have said I love doing both. Every year is harder because like my athletic group who play in the Champ have more games every year, and that group I need to support more. Bucks Super Rugby gets more challenging every single year, and we have better calibre of players coming through that therefore in turn need more from you and more coaching support and more specific coaching support, positioning, etc., etc. And the Prem is really good. I'm kind of like, with the World Cup coming up, people might retire and then maybe the Prem will change again a bit and maybe I get away with playing a bit longer before someone's like, you're actually rubbish, you need to stop. That's like my insecurity seeping out of me. But I think I need to figure out, like, do I really want to be a coach?
Yeah.
Or do I want to be a player for longer? And then maybe the coaching...
Or a nail artist that sings on the side, maybe.
Maybe, who cheers on Ebony. I don't know. I really, really don't know. I actually don't know. But I think that, like, you know, whatever ends up happening, like, I will always love the club. You know? Even when I hate the club, I love the club. And I don't ever hate the club. It's just sometimes things are really hard and, like, you know, you have to, like, really fight through the challenging bits to be like, why am I doing this, you know, 30, 40 hours a week of all of this, late nights, putting your body through it, you know, all those bits. Like, you do it because at 10:30 p.m. when you're eating, you know, food, you know, whatever the food might be, whatever we're lucky enough to get, on a Tuesday night, like, it's too much fun to leave. I would stay till midnight if I had to. I'd stay till the building. I nearly got locked in the building the other week. I was doing work in the coach's office and then it got locked and I didn't know no one knew I'd left me behind. But, like, that, you know, that, I know for now I love that bit too much to stop. Whatever that is. And also, you know, maybe I am still young, so it doesn't feel like it.
You're still young enough.
But I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm now just dancing around it. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do need to think about, you know, like, what do I actually want? Because it's big stuff doing both.
Yeah.
And also, like, I want to be really good at what I do. And I think, as Rat, also known as Hayden Thomas, always says to me, don't dilute yourself. And maybe in the women's game, it's easy to be diluted because people ask a lot of you.
Yeah. Who cheers you on?
Who cheers me on? Well, lots of people cheer me on. You know, obviously we've got super fans, which are legends.
Obviously.
Purple Pam is diehard fan. Couldn't do without her. My mum cheers me on a huge amount. I don't think she ever misses games. My dad cheers me on a huge amount. My niece Florence, who's 6, who me and Ebs look after in the week quite a lot, is also, I'm hoping, going to be a future chief. If not, she's told me she wants to be Simone Biles, which is fine.
Okay, good choices.
Yeah, but I have loads of people that support me. You know, like, I would never question that. You know, I feel very lucky. And our fans are great here. But yeah, you know, I feel, loads of people. My mum, dad, my sister, my brother, everyone. Ebs cheers me on. I obviously cheer her on back. At the scrum next to each other.
Well, thank you for being our glue.
Sorry it took so long to pin me down.
Our 100-game hero. Congratulations.
If I get there.
If you get there.
If I get there. I've jinxed it now.
Quick touch.
I don't believe in that stuff, so it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not
fine.
superstitious, so.
You'll be good.
And if I don't get there, then 99 it is. 99 is a great number.
You're going to get there.
Thanks for having me, I suppose.